now.
As is a requirement for game number 7, you are correct. The score is 3-3, and there has been some pretty good banter going on in chat, which I haven't been able to pay attention to as much as I wish I could. But some good Zan puns and cold scars there face palming as for some reason, not sure why, but that's never a good sign. But as we go into game number 7, it is going to be Midday versus Cham. Game 7, you want to explain how that works, Gallegation?
Absolutely. So once we get into the game 7 of these matches, the teams rather are allowed to send out players who had played previously to defend their teams once again in the final bout to take home all the goodies. This time, from No Dice Gaming, they have decided to send out Cham, and Complexity has chosen to send out Midday. Midday, once again, we do have his bio if you've forgotten, because he did play in the initial match all that time ago. He is a Chinese-Canadian Zerg player, and he's a Complexity Academy graduate. He's a full-time student, and his favorite player is currently Soki. So Midday unable to pull it out in his first match of the day, but his team has faith in him. Let's see if he's able to pull it out in this final match.
There are so many Complexity Academy graduates. It's cool to see. And as we have game number 7 ready, we want to take one last opportunity, as this is definitely guaranteed to be the last game, as one of these teams will come out of this victorious, to give our sponsor MythLogic some love. Go out to Twitter and follow them, or Facebook if that's your choice, and go give them a tweet. It does us a big favor to go to Twitter or Facebook, but Twitter is the easiest, I think, in my opinion, for these kind of things. To compose a tweet to @MythLogic and tag @SC2CTL, @WingnetSC, and @Gallegation, and let MythLogic know how thankful you are that they are sponsoring grassroots esports in a big way, giving up over $1,100 and some cool prizes, which we will be getting into in the weeks to come, to support the league. And all of that goes back, all of it, a large portion of that goes back to the teams and the winners in the league, as well as the prizes that we're going to be talking about probably next week, I hope, assuming that some code bugs get worked out. Be giving away some pretty cool and awesome prizes, including I believe a Corsair gaming headset, gaming mouse, and a mechanical keyboard to you, the viewers. So stay tuned for that. We will get that going as soon as we can. There's been some issues getting the required things working. And lastly, do not forget to follow this Twitch channel, SC2CTL, so you can know when we go live and the matches coming up. Also follow SC2CTL on Twitter, as well as us, your casters, commentators, and all-around cool people, WingnetSC and Gallegation. We certainly do appreciate that, and we've gotten a lot of feedback, which has helped us to change things in this league. We appreciate that as well. Big thanks to those. If you look in the bottom of the Twitch page, there are clickable pictures with links that go to all of this aforementioned Twitter pages. That was a suggestion we got last week, and we have implemented that, so that will make it easy for you.
Also, I want to make sure that we don't forget the kitchen sink in all this, as we've mentioned everything else.
Yep. And moving on into game number 7, it is going to be on Overgrowth. LE, a Zerg versus Zerg. In the lower left-hand corner, with the red carapace representing Complexity, it is the second showing of Midday.
And in the top right-hand corner, representing No Dice Gaming, another Zerg in the blue carapace, it is Cham.
So both of these players, as Gallegation explained, have had their foray already, coming out for another go at it. A ZVZ is an interesting matchup that we love to see every time. So far we saw a big Roach, sort of macro-y type ZVZ. Will we see the same thing? We will certainly find out.
That's right. And it might be of interest to note that Cham did win his first game earlier in the match, whereas Midday did not. So obviously, you know, one match to another, it's kind of, you could win one, you could lose another, you could play against the same person 3 times in a row and win 2 and lose 1. Not really a great estimation as to how they're going to play, but you have to wonder how that plays with their head, especially when you're entering into a Game 7 that the entire kind of series here is dependent on.
It looked like there was a brief pause there as Midday was potentially having some lag, but got that worked out. And spawning pool coming down from Cham as Midday still droning away and mining the minerals. He does have a natural expansion that just went down as well, so I think similar builds that we saw before. depends on which will come out ahead. I think we'll see a gas here shortly, as well as a spawning pool follow-up by midday to get some speedlings out, and a early queen from Cham to get the macro going, as his natural expansion going down now as well.
That's right. So pretty standard that you'd see from both of these. Cham trying to bait some information out of his opponent here. But both players kind of playing some pretty standard opening, depending on what style you're going to go. And they also have their scouting overlords heading into the natural bases, both going to be able to see that the hatchery is going down at roughly the same time here.
Thomas in chat saying midday is a good ZVZ unit. That is a fact, and we will see what he does. And Troy asking for swarm hosts. Why in God's name would you do that?
Troy just wants the show to go on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and then just be able to start up again without really any breakage in the stream on Thursday.
Yeah, you know, I have mentioned this once before, but I'm actually really surprised at the lack of swarm hosts in SC2CTL games so far, as there are some lings from Cham moving on across the map to do some scouting and potential early damage. But really, we've only seen one game with swarm hosts.
Yeah, they haven't really been all that popular in this particular league. And I think that may be indicative of their popularity across the game in general. But I think that you have to, I mean, it's a build that you have to be fairly practiced with. You know, you have to have the positioning just right. You have to really kind of know the map and know the attack paths and know the unit and the build kind of inside and out. Not to say that these players aren't capable of it, but I think that there's probably just more versatile builds that they'd want to use.
Looks like Cham is separating out his Zerglings to get as much scouting around the base of midday done as he can. Midday about to do the same with two Zerglings heading on in. Two queens there at the natural, a little bit out of position to stop those Zerglings from heading in, but one queen in the main base does take out some shots, but he does see and get in and see what he wants to see, which is no gas.
That's right, and that's important at this point. He does see the spine crawlers going down as well. I think that was kind of a knee-jerk reaction by Cham, saying he's going to be able to scout me, he's going to know what's there, so I'm going to have to try and get some kind of defense going here. Looks like there's a lot of pauses in this game. I wonder if these folks are having some issues back on the home front while this is going on.
Yeah, there's a surprising number of spine crawlers going down, especially also with that roach warren there right up front. Not really. Looks like now he is starting to establish a bit of a wall here. It fooled me a little bit. These looks like little steam pipes or something on the left. I assumed that was a spot that you could walk through, but now I am indeed guessing that that is part of the wall. But now a small little space here going to be coming on down, as he did see that the gas and speed was going down for midday, which is now complete. Roach warren coming down. The armor upgrade coming down as well. Smart play to get that out first. I do, as I don't play Zerg all that much, but watching Zerg games, it really seems like that armor upgrade comes into play in a huge way. Oh, these queens getting separated here.
Yeah, they were definitely far out of position, and that was a great play there by midday. He was kind of pulling them out of position with his overlord, and then able to clean both of them up with his lings. Did lose the overlord, but ultimately won the day with the amount of queens that he was able to kill. That wall was wide open too, so those lings could have ran right in and done some economic damage as well if they had chosen to, but they decided to take the low-hanging fruit instead. Yeah,
those lings attempting to be linebackers as well as just trying to headbutt their way through the wall, but the queen stood strong. But as I was saying, I like the armor upgrade first, because it seems like that just turns a tide of a battle more than the attack upgrade does sometimes. It could just be a perception on my part, but upgrades are always good. Ranged upgrades coming down for both players. Roaches coming out for midday, as there are already some on the field for Cham. Not going to be fooled by any burrowness is Cham, as he is getting those overseers out ready and quickly here. Two roaches plugging the hole at the front for Cham as well.
And Cham also gets a changeling into his opponent's base. Midday not seeing it, and well, it did end up seeing it with the queen, but the overseer is also there to see everything that's going on. Cham has a very good idea of what midday is up to.
Yeah, the overseer's getting a lot of scouting done. Queen's shooing them away, but they do have quite a bit of HP, so not too easily deterred. Third base has been active here for a few minutes from midday. Third is just about to finish for Cham. That queen sprinting over to it to inject it at a moment's notice, but a couple of Zerglings trying to head up the ramp for midday, but Cham is able to push them away with roaches. I do like the kind of style that Cham is doing here. It looks like a more macro-y type of just kind of the slow creep out with everything as he keeps moving those spine crawlers out, moving the roaches out. Definitely a nice play here, which is really not allowing midday a lot of scouting at this point.
Right. Yeah, he did have he had to make those spine crawlers early to kind of ensure a defense while he was getting his macro up and his main and his natural. But once he has them, there's no reason to kind of keep them a part of the wall when you're able to defend a little bit further out. So he's appropriating them into different areas to maximize their versatility as moving into the main or the mid stage of this game.
Cham is also keeping an overseer here at the ramp of midday so that he can see when these units come out to head across the map, so he's not surprised by too much, but large number of roaches headed across the map for Cham. This is looking a bit scary. Looking at the army supply, it is 64 to 68, so fairly even both army and worker supply, which is what we've seen so far. This is looking a lot like our very first CBZ. A lot of roaches on both sides with the only difference is fairly equal upgrades now. 1-1 on the field for both players and 2-2 on the way at fairly equal completion rates for both players, but the difference is that Hydralisks are on the way for Cham as well, as Hydralisk Den has just begun.
Absolutely, and I think that's the right decision. Yeah, I mean, you can see these giant roach versus roach armies that kind of come together and slam in the middle, and you kind of have to keep building up to maintain the defense, but that's not exactly the tide of this game. So Cham being in the position that he is, I think that it's wise to get those Hydralisks and have the overall stronger army. Midday now pushing along the left side. There is an Overlord there, so Cham is going to be able to see Midday kind of coming in from that direction. Moves out beautifully. Those roaches are split quite well. There is kind of a clump on the left-hand side, but overall, very good split. They're going to be able to get a good concave if Midday decides to engage there. And it looks like he's kind of playing with the idea, but now it looks like he's going to go for the rocks instead.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too smart to move in at this point because the roach numbers are fairly equal, and Cham does have a positioning advantage as he does have a spine crawler and a nice concave here. Moving up this ramp in a ball, trying to spread out his roaches a bit, is stuck in a giant concave of Cham roaches.
Yeah, and he does have, it looks like Midday does have the upgrade advantage, but he did not have the positioning advantage, and that really kind of bit him there. Not the best place to engage, and is moving away with his tail between his legs and quite a few number of roaches fewer than when he started.
Also, those Hydralisks popped out just at the exact moment of that engagement, so now he's sitting at, looks like 9 Hydralisks in the back of this roach army to do a lot of DPS too. So that is going to be a big advantage too, but now at Midday trying to get that same concave set up here at the top of the ramp. As he is getting set up, all the Hydralisk upgrades coming out for Cham as the big engagement comes now. Looks like a fairly equal line for both players. The difference is the Hydralisk in the back for Cham. Midday getting quite a bit of damage done here, forcing Cham to move some of his Hydras back. Looks like it's still fairly even, though. More reinforcements coming down for Cham, though. And GG.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that I see kind of where they were going. It looks like Midday was trying to get some infestors out. He had pathogens glands going down. I think that would have been a really good play, but the Hydralisks kind of hit sooner than his infestors were able to come out, and with that push when it was, he just did not have the time to get the army he wanted. So that will make it No Dice Gaming's match this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like it was going, actually starting to sway in the favor of Midday there for a minute, but then a huge resupply of both Hydras and Roaches came down, which really kind of turned the tide there a little bit, and it just looked like Midday didn't really have it in him to have that same sort of resupply. At the end, there was a pretty significant number of units left on the field for Cham, but good game, definitely played by both. Your thoughts at the end of this Gallegation? What were your overarching thoughts of this series, and especially with both of these teams moving on? A lot of big players on these teams.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will say that I did not expect No Dice to come out on top of this match. Complexity is such a big name, and we've seen them around for so long. With such names as they had QXC playing, and QXC even lost. Hydralisk, taking a win, but not by playing. Just some really good names that we've seen in the past do really great things. No Days Gaming clearly has a lot of talent on their team as well. Big shout out to them. Incredible play by both teams. Been a lot of fun to watch them, and I think that we're definitely going to be seeing these teams come back together in the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind that they are both going to go pretty far.
Absolutely. With that, we're going to take